Snap back to reality.
Oh, we're doing a test.
Yeah.
Back to reality.
Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbity. Choke. You won't have it. Welcome to Director's Debrief, episode 35.
Boom, welcome.
35,
big number.
How could you do this to me?
What?
I came upstairs, I heard you on the phone to you know who.
Yeah.
You know who you called.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know about this, Ram. We had a supplier.
We can talk about them. Packaging suppliers.
Yeah, packaging supplier. I don't want to mention names.
No. So we have packaging supplier A, packaging supplier B.
Yeah.
They're the juggernauts of the industry.
Yes.
Right? There are plenty of others, but they're the main
Anybody
ones.
I speak to, so I was speaking to an owner of an e-commerce store, and the first thing I told her was step away from this company.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not personal, but I'm going to make it seem like it's personal. This account manager A, for some reason, whenever I had an issue, I'd call her, and she would just, it was the worst nightmare for her to speak to me. It was like she was doing her worst chore just to speak to me. And I'm a fucking delight. And then when it comes to speaking to Ash, it's a softer tone. No, of course we can do that for you. We'll set this up for you. This is how we can. And you called her today.
Yeah, it's been a while. Both of us were catching up. It took a little bit of time.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I felt hurt.
Yeah, it was good. She,
Can you ask her why she hates me?
Always a pleasure. You know what? I sent her an email following that call.
Yeah, I saw.
And I had to BCC you in, man. Sorry. We got negotiations on the line.
For real?
Any other negotiation that I have, CCing you in works, but I have to be open here. Like, we need better pricing.
Cold.
But you got to admit it.
I understand why.
Just for her.
That validates my point.
Yeah. Anyone else? He's like the negotiating guy. Like, he's a Rottweiler, ready to be there. Like, he adds the credibility here. I'm sorry. Like, I had to pretend I didn't know him.
And that's where inflation has gone too high. Because this supplier, the products were great, but I just hated dealing with them. And we moved to what I consider a better supplier.
Yeah.
A bit more expensive. We negotiated the rates down. Obviously, recently found out that price has gone up now to an unsustainable amount. Yeah,
and we're doing a lot more business through them. So hopefully, I doubt they're going to be watching this, but if they do, they know what I'm up to.
Yeah.
I'm just playing them against each other, hence why I made a phone call that I haven't made in a while to see what they could do.
Okay, so this is a play.
It's always a play.
It's always a play.
It's always a play.
But yes, in the previous episode, we teased at the fact that we were going to sort of speak about negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
What did you mean by that? What did you want to talk about?
Well, I think it's realizing, like, people think there's, negotiation is like bartering in a street, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not for me. We're in a professional world. This isn't like some markets. This isn't Leicester Market or wherever it is. We're having we're business people. You should just take the price you give it and go from there. Everything in my body, my ancestors are probably shouting at me right now for even saying that out loud. But yeah, the idea here is, in the professional world, how do you negotiate? Yeah. And this isn't a market. The stakes are higher. Negotiation, therefore, the return that you get from negotiation is higher. And it's making sure at the end of the day, it's not about, I got a quick deal. It's getting the best deal. And making sure at the end of the day, you're paying the right price and the fair price. Yeah. So take me back to when you first negotiated your first deal. I say just anything.
Just any negotiation. That was probably like when I was 13, and my dad doesn't speak English, so he negotiated and I translated.
Yeah.
My dad goes through about a car a year.
Okay.
Tends to buy second-hand cars, usually about 5 to 10 years old. Spends anywhere between like $2,000 and like $5,000 on a car. It's just been his way. And he likes to sample a lot of cars. That's just a thing he does. So he would sell his car and go buy a new one. Everybody was always talking about, like, no one has luck like him.
Right.
And he really looks after his cars, but he always tends to get his money back, and I was like, what a lucky guy.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be going off to a visit, and my dad has phenomenal negotiation skills. He managed to negotiate a good between £300 and £400 off my car, which my first car I bought super cheap. I bought it for $2,500.
Right.
And he managed to bring that down for me. But he has one terrible habit, and that's pride gets in the way.
Right.
So my dad's final negotiating term is he fixates on a price, And then if he doesn't get that, he goes, "You have my number," and he'll walk away. I'm like, we've already negotiated like £400 off. Let's just take this deal. This is a good deal. But because it didn't meet his specific requirement in his head, he's happy to walk away. But it's probably something like that. And that was a really good exercise for me growing up, because it's my dad leading the negotiations. Like, tell him we'll do it for this. And I'd have to translate that. And I think people might be hesitant, like, oh, what can I say? This will make me nervous. My dad was telling me exactly what to say. The only thing I needed was the courage to say it.
Sure.
And so I was building up the courage and slowly the know-how of how to do it.
Mm-hmm. So going back to your dad, obviously you're witnessing your dad.
Yeah.
Did any of these people that he'd walk away from call him back?
No. That's my problem. Nobody ever did.
I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think there are lessons that your dad showed there that ring true. That for me, in negotiation, from my limited experience, we're still learning, we're still early to this. My understanding is that you need to be genuinely ready to walk away.
Yes.
This isn't like, haha, I could walk away. You don't want to test me. It's like, no, you have to, even if it hurt, like it goes against everything in your body. If it doesn't meet your mark, just because they're giving you a little bit of a deal, I don't think it's pride. It's actually genuinely that, no, this isn't the price that you're willing to pay. The person hasn't come even close to it. You have to go beyond and look elsewhere, even if you end up paying more elsewhere in the end. Otherwise, it's a fake negotiation, in my opinion.
Even if you pay more elsewhere?
Yeah, to a certain extent. It's just... the idea here is that if you're genuinely negotiating, you've got to be ready to go. Otherwise, you're just asking for a discount. Yeah, and there's a difference. Yeah, go on, try your best. And it's something I'm learning. Like you go around seeing houses, and you got to make sure you don't fall in love, and you're willing to walk away. Because otherwise, if you fall in love, they already get that body language, everything, the way you approach them, the neediness, which means that when it comes to actually asking for discount, they were this guy wants it. Yeah. Like why would I give him any discount because he's willing to pay already? Yeah.
So you asked me what my first experience was negotiating. What's your biggest experience in negotiating? Could be work or thing, because I know you've done you spent 4 months negotiating deals with clients.
I mean, there are volume ones, so the size of a deal, and there's satisfaction from some of them more than others, because it's not all about the money. Sometimes it's getting or negotiating something that you didn't think you really had a chance in. But you put all the information out and you were getting there. I'll circle back to that, to the exact experience. But what I do think that's really helped in the satisfaction and getting the best deal from an unlikely scenario is having the data. So in some way, shape or form, see, if I, in my personal life, recently, with my partner, we negotiated for a house. And originally there was no negotiation. And you can start, and we really tried to test it in more of a go on, give us something we really need it when you really need help. Didn't work. It was also a very bullish market at the time. This was February.
I was just going to say
2022. It was a peak of the peak of the housing market. Didn't get anything.
They had options.
Yeah, exactly. They had plenty. Circle back a few months later, where we were still going through the contract negotiations. So they didn't know they had us completely, and we went in with the data. We went in with exactly how the market value of prices had gone down, what we were able to get for the same amount of money, how we were overpaying. We put genuine data behind our emotion and backed it up. And I'd like to say immediately, it took a little bit of back and forth, but we started to get ourselves a deal. Yeah. And it was, the writing was there, the writing was on the wall, and it was obvious exactly why we needed X discount, not to make us feel good, not to pay for a shed or whatever else we needed in our house. This was, no, we need this. And you're overcharging for what you're offering.
Yeah, I mean, data is incredibly important, but also the right data. Because going back to cars, when me and my dad were trying to sell our cars, one guy did this, and I'll never forget this. He brought printed copies of Auto Trader listings.
Okay.
And sorry, let me just turn that down. Brought printed copies of Auto Trader listings for similar cars, but at lower prices. Now, you could tell by far, it was a Mercedes C-Class my dad was selling. You could tell by a long shot that this Mercedes C-Class was in superior condition, had lower mileage, full service history. And that's the thing, when you bring a picture and a number, it has to be the right data. And that was my issue with that, where actually what you're saying makes perfect sense. something that was like maybe deep embedded in me from a young age was like, no, negotiation is all about emotion.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, you make a very valid point. It's about the right data. Because when he was bringing this to me, I'm like, these aren't of equal value.
Yeah.
And this kind of brings us on to like commoditization. And, you know, we've always been toying between calling ourselves an agency or not.
Yeah.
Because you call yourself, we had this conversation earlier this week. You call yourself an agency, people know exactly what you do.
Yeah.
But it means they can compare you to a bunch of others. When in actual fact, we're not really just an agency. Not many agencies look like us, work like us, or even get results like us. But yeah, it's comparing the right bits of data.
Yeah.
I think that's very often lost on a lot of people.
It's very true. So on that point, then, do you think this person actually shot themselves in the foot by not bringing the right data?
100%.
Yeah.
They didn't end up buying the car.
So here's the thing. Maybe that person could have brought those in, so that the data was there, but backed it up with appreciation or acknowledgement that the car they were buying was superior. But that didn't equate to the extra value that was being charged, or the price that was being charged.
That's a much smarter negotiation tactic.
Yeah, I was just thinking out loud. I mean,
They came in very bullish. Like, hey, we could either buy your car or go get this one for cheaper. My immediate reaction was, cool, go get that one for cheaper. And this was in, again, a very bullish car market back when Auto Trader, fastest I've ever sold a car is about 4 hours.
Yeah.
Well, back when Auto Trader was the big deal, you post it on there, it was worth paying £40 and somebody came and picked it up.
Amazing, yeah. And then, so for example, if that person then comes in, so similar with our house, that rather than them coming back from us negotiate or asking for this with all the data, in our email that we drafted and over the phone call conversations we have, we went on the offensive and acknowledged that the build quality of their house was better than others.
Good, okay.
So that they couldn't come back and say, oh, we charge X amount more because our build quality is there. So what we did is we acknowledged that the service that we'd had with them was very good. They didn't give us a discount, but other than that, it was very good. The build quality was higher, and there was a lot more that we would value in that, but it wasn't worth the surplus that they were charging. And similar with the car, you could say that, the condition was very good, and it's far superior to what we see on Auto Trader, but
it's not £500 more.
Exactly.
It's 200.
Yeah, this is probably a clean, or it could be something like that, or a polish, or stuff like that.
The way you've preemptively answered that question actually has made me realize something. Something I'm genuinely struggling with at the moment is figuring out the timing of those things. Whether you preemptively answer a question. I worked in sales for a while, and so it was all about preemptively answering questions, preemptively answering objections. Objection handling is a huge thing of telesales, especially like B2C.
Yeah.
But it's not always the best way to do it. Sometimes you need to invite certain questions, because I've realized in certain pitches when I'm pitching to clients, I come across as a bit like anxious.
Sure.
Because I'm just like, no, just before you ask this question, here's this, here's that. When in actual fact, you can position yourself in a place of power by just putting some information out on the table and making them ask for more.
I'll be honest, I'm guilty of that.
Oh,
if anything, you've
I've
seen
not
me,
observed you, but in that regard.
In meetings and things like that. Certainly in earlier days, I'd like to think I'm getting better, but it does take kind of proactiveness to remind yourself not to be and trying to answer every question. Sometimes silence is the best best method, right?
Yeah. So we've discussed that.
Yeah, we have, and it takes confidence, right? Again, we've been in this a fair amount of time, but we're still learning. It takes experience to understand that you don't always have to fill the gaps of silence with words or with expression of, oh, don't worry about this, don't worry about that. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting thought there. So when you are on the other side of a negotiating table, we've been working with different clients and so on.
Yeah.
Do you evaluate whether kind of, I'll try to put this in better words, on which side of the court the ball's on? Like who's owning this negotiation or who's owning this deal?
Not enough. That's a big deal. But you also risk, sorry, this is diverting from your question, but you also risk a me versus them mentality when you do that.
Right.
Because a negotiation is about X amount is on the table and two people walking away from as much as possible. Because usually in a me versus them situation, if you get one over on them, there's usually quite a lot of business left on the table.
Sure.
Let's say you try and, if somebody, there's always this push-pull series of, if somebody negotiates a price too damn low, they might think they got one over on you, but your quality of service is going to be impacted by that.
Yeah.
And that is left on the table. Their potential growth due to outstanding customer service is there. It's left on the table. And so, sorry, does that answer your question?
No, it does, yeah.
So I try to stay clear of that.
Okay.
And there's a specific reason. In the last episode, I mentioned I'd been to like this negotiations training back when I was at Funding Circle, and it was held by a really, really smart individual. He was incredibly senior at the company. I'm trying to remember his name, Tom. I won't say his surname, but so he created. I don't know if he created or brought this exercise of two people get a sheet. The person who needs to buy a service and the service provider.
Right.
I was buying the service. I basically needed to develop an application, and I was speaking to a developer. The hindrance here was I was a fraud analyst. This person was actually a developer at the company.
Okay.
Now, you have different points. You could choose coding language, budget, time frame.
Right.
Okay. And they had the same things, the same coding language, time frame, and budgets, but they were worth different points to different people.
Okay.
So to me, a quicker time frame was worth a lot of points to me.
Yeah.
But actually, you'd think the opposite was a lot of points to him. In actual fact, it didn't affect him that much. So I would gain 200 more points for a quicker budget. He would only lose 100 points if he did it slower.
Yeah.
And so he assessed both sides of the coin. He realized it was different point system, and I didn't. But the one thing is, I think he got like 800 points to 200 points. I mentioned in the previous episode, I got my ass handed to me. However, we were the only team. This isn't like reconciliation. I failed miserably there.
Yeah.
We were the only team to draw 1,000 points out of the 1,000 points available. Everybody else, their total score was only about between like 600 and 700 points.
Sure.
So whilst I had lost, he had won by a considerable margin because there was nothing left on the table. That's how it was being described.
Yeah.
There was no lack of service left on the table. There was no X, Y, or Z. He had won not just because he'd gotten the better end of the stick, but because the full stick was taken off the table.
Okay, whereas everyone else who was negotiating, they left certain things on the table and both came out with a mediocre deal.
Exactly. There was a lot more even scoring out there, 300 for 300, but your total's only 600. And when you're negotiating high-level deals, that's not something you want to miss out on. On small-level deals, whatever, that's £50, that's 1,000. When it's, high-level clients, that might be 2% market share, which on a £1 billion P&L, that's huge.
Okay, so take me through that, because then I want to go back into the history of why we negotiate a little bit and why we negotiate in the modern world.
I'd love to learn about that. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to be making it up as a bit as well, but cool. trying to go through it. But okay, let's go in a different example away from the scorecard sheet that you had in your negotiating company. So how would that work in a simple scenario? Like, I don't know, between you and Ram, like you're negotiating, why is stuff left on the table? That's what I can't get my head around. Just what is left on the table?
Okay. Was your house built before you negotiated the price?
No.
Okay. So the question there is, they might have some sort of metric for how much they sell the houses by and versus how much resources they exert to that particular house.
Right.
So you might think you've saved a lot of money. And to be honest, if you don't care about certain aspects, like they use cheaper types of pipes for the plumbing.
Sure.
Right? If you don't care about that, then it's not necessarily left on the table. But if you've negotiated down, they've used cheaper quality parts on your house, that's where there's something left on the table. The quality of the house was left on the table.
Okay, but did they not they didn't get away with it because they had to get...
They had to make that money else somewhere. However, so let's say you negotiated down, I don't know, £5,000. And that's what pushed them over the threshold to like, okay, well, our profit margin's squeezed here, so I've got to do something different. Whereas if you'd negotiated 3,000, they'd still used the high quality, they've still got their sale, nothing left on the table. You've saved your £3,000.
Interesting. Okay.
So it comes back to when I bought my car. I think the negotiation was down at like £300, and to get the final 100 off, they said, fine, we'll sell it to you without warranty.
I see. Okay.
And to be honest with you, I bought the car, there was like 3 lads in a shipping container chain smoking cigarettes. I didn't really think that warranty would hold up. So that wasn't on the table to begin with. So I was happy to get rid of it. I was like, take the warranty and I'll take the £400 off. That's kind of an example.
That worked. That's interesting. But at the end of the day, someone has still won a little bit more than the other when something's on the table. For example, you didn't value the warranty at what they would have made in profit from the warranty.
Yeah.
Right? So you've still achieved something, but yes, at the end of the day, you're at a loss, they're at a loss in the grand scheme of what you would have got. Okay, that makes some good sense. So then going to why in the modern world we don't... we still negotiate, right? It can, to some, it may seem quite barbaric that how can you be in a boardroom of a multi-billion pound company and still be negotiating a deal? No, that's for the market stalls. That's for the kind of the medieval days. Whereas in the modern world, someone says a price, you should take it. Why do we still negotiate in the modern world?
I think I know why people don't. It's intimidation. You don't know what the other person's going to say. Are you asking me, well, why don't we negotiate? I don't know. Do you know what really bothers me?
No, sorry, why do we negotiate?
Why do we?
Why, like, is it not barbaric to negotiate? It's not like, hey, give me your best price, go for that. Why?
No, I'd say it's a more human connection. It's not something that is fixed by a computer. I'm not speaking to Ash World P.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to Ash, Mr. Shah.
Right.
You and me are connecting as human beings. Where, to me, it's a much more intimate thing of like, I'm asking you for a favor and I'm putting you in a position of power to grant me or deny me this favor. I think of negotiation as a very human interaction.
That's interesting. Yeah, and that we'll never get rid of, really, no matter how much AI, how much stuff comes through. It's interesting because when I was thinking about the reasons behind negotiation, it's because almost you put a trust. Say you charge me X fees per month for your time for doing something or for your services, right? Not time. It's like a product service thing that you offer.
Yeah.
I put a lot of trust in you to make sure that is the correct price that you've set in the market value. You may have underpriced yourself. You may have overpriced yourself. And because there are so many variables to figuring out whether you've overpriced yourself or underpriced yourself, like what tells you your hourly rate? What tells you the time and resource costs that go into it? And you borrowing someone else's time that you owe a favor to and so on. And there's a lot of variables that you can't measure all the time. And I think the art of negotiation isn't 100% accurate, but it allows us to get to the free market price that we should be getting to. It's almost organic that where do we meet in the middle that we align on, rather than you setting your price here and the correct price actually being around here and me paying that surplus.
It's a compromise of perceived value. You perceive the value to be at 100, I perceive it to be at 50, so we settle on 75.
Exactly, because AI, and as we say, could make things more accurate so that you price yourself more accurately. Could take into account all variables to make sure that you charge X number of thousand per month for your fees. But on the whole, I have to put trust in that method of calculation. And it's not true free market because then everything does become price fixed and monitored rather than, kind of the free market pricing that we do like. So it's just interesting. I'm in my head, I'm thinking of these lawyers in America sitting around a boardroom saying, we'll do this for $100,000 or something. And it's like, how do they get to these fees? Where do they come from? In that respect. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing.
Sorry, I just wanted to... Excuse me. I wanted to ask, because I mentioned earlier, I've started to deviate away from thinking negotiation is an emotional act. Do you believe it to be a logical act or an emotional one?
I think it's more logical than emotional. Whilst it's very human, I think the best negotiators are able to put emotion aside. Yeah, okay. And let it play through when it comes through the form of them negotiating, but they're able to make calculated decisions on the spot rather than using their own relying too much on their human emotion. How about you? What do you think?
I think I started off as purely emotional, and again, that's I got to win this kind of a thing. And I'm moving much more towards like logic, especially now that what you said about the it's a way to meet in the middle in terms of you think it's that much, I think it's this much. Yeah,
I think it's fun to play the emotional game, but there's no logic behind your emotions, right? Like, no. Are you just doing this to win? Because I see that on a daily basis where you have to bite your teeth sometimes with some stuff that you don't like, and you've got to put that emotion aside. Yeah. Or did I say bite your teeth? Is that a thing? Grit your teeth, yeah. Grit your teeth, because you've got to put that emotion aside and see, right, how can I get the best possible result for myself? Yeah. Like, what's the long-term impact? And I think negotiation all falls under that.
You're very good at that. It's hard for me sometimes. It's really hard for me to.
Yeah, but it's also it's hard for anyone to see the bigger picture of anything, right? Like it is, because no one knows what the bigger picture is. Like you're hoping for something far bigger, but I think you've just got to trust that. Yeah, things come through. But anyway, we'll take a quick sneak break because I want to explain a product that I'm super proud of. But I'm going to take zero credit for finding it. Actually, I was about to take full credit, but then I saw the look in Sam's eyes.
Okay, yeah.
How dare you?
I was hoping you would, and then we could fight about that. Because I realized, like, fighting and argue and make for great content. We're actually, like, we think along the same wavelengths way too often.
Yeah.
Fight me.
Come on. No, we'll do that off camera. But for now, anyway, I'm introducing a product that I found myself, and it's changed the game.
I didn't even fucking find them, Somebody else introduced me to
it. Yeah, but there's always someone who's introduced someone. So a lot of you, if you're watching this in the summer, hopefully you are, fresh off the press when it comes out, are wearing sunglasses, or you're wearing glasses inside in the office, wherever you
messed up.
Yeah, I've been a big glasses wearer for...
This is why I got you on this.
A couple of weeks now, and I'm loving my glasses. I'm wearing contacts today, and it's just not as clear.
No, how come?
Because I want to wear my sunglasses in the morning, and gym and stuff. It's just easier. But if you got these, I'm sure you've accidentally put a fingerprint on them.
What did you? How will you ever rectify this problem, Ash?
Your kind of your sun cream or whatever you're wearing, or the oils that just naturally live on your hands, they're on there. And like, look at that. Can we get that on a camera? Probably not, but yeah, awful.
Hold on. Yeah. Let me get it nice and close to.
Basically, that was a real smudge, sun cream smudge right there. So, Sam, as he obviously wants to take credit for, this introduced me to what I'll be honest, I thought it was a bit of a con when he first told it to me, because I have a lens cloth. Yeah. I was about to get some lens spray. I was about to get some lens cleaning spray, so a bit of a cloth and that.
Sorry, before we get into that, you have like a carbon ceramic screen cleaner that has like a flip up thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You got one of the fanciest screen cleaning mechanism as ever, and you thought this was a fad?
Yeah, well, what I thought is that you can just do it with a bit of spray and a cloth.
Bit of saliva. Yeah. God's screen cleaner.
No, but they're just really good. They are. So, I'll do it here. So you get 200 wipes in a Zeiss lens wipe product. My brother, if he sees this, is going to be like, this is a waste of money. But yeah, because he'll be like, oh, just use some spray and whatever from the opticians. Yeah. But anyway, I hope he sees this. So they're high quality microfine tissues, independently tested. I don't know why I'm reading the packaging right now. But they're for all glass.
Reading the bullet points on the back.
No, I know this internally. This is my product, and they come in little things like this. Probably not the most eco-friendly, so I do hope they work on their packaging. I'm sure that's in the pipeline. Potentially biodegradable would be nice. And
they're paper, because they don't have the plastic thing, unless you bought this from a dodgy source, which
I don't know. I bought them from Costco.
Yeah.
So
they have to have this packaging here. Taya, incredibly on point with their regulatory stuff. They have to have that if they are plastic.
Whereas, unless they've missed it, but
no, but I think that's
this is Carl Zeiss Vision UK. So one of these. I don't know why I'm showing you how to use a wipe, but it's just incredible. It's just
one of those JML commercials.
It just works. Okay.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, I was about to bring it up.
It's just a demo.
There you go. Boom. I've got really decent lenses on here as well, so they've got coatings and stuff like that.
It's coating safe.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
And then it just changes the game. For anyone who wears glasses, they know the issue.
Crystal clear.
And boom.
There you go.
Boom.
There
you go. You're ready for your date.
It's funny. Go ahead. Sorry, say what you were going to say.
No. So Sam introduced me to these. I thought they were a con at first. I don't know why I'm still wearing these. But yeah, I've been addicted to them. It just changed the game.
It's funny, we're spending this whole episode talking about negotiations. I bought them off Amazon, £15 or like $14.49. I get a text from Ash at Costco, and he's just like, "Mate, I found them. They're £5."
Yeah, $5.49 or something.
$5.49.
Yeah.
Now I know why Jeff has a super yacht.
Yeah. But okay, here's the quick thing. Right. Yeah. You paid £15.
Yeah.
You didn't know if that was a good deal or not, right?
I had no idea.
You had no anchor
No.
to your reasoning. There was no negotiation, but you had no anchor,
Yeah.
price anchor. So
I had no data.
Exactly. And I think that's really important. And then, okay, you can't negotiate with Jeff. I wouldn't recommend it. Or you can't negotiate with Costco. But the idea is, I think people, when they're negotiating, they need an anchor or they need a port of call. And that comes from data. And you also need to set the stone. So say you're trying to sell me this at £15 and we are a market stall. I need to have the data and know that Costco charges $5.49. For whatever reason, I'm unable to go there.
Yeah.
And I need to put something in a stand. Maybe I don't go quite to $5.49 because I like the convenience of Amazon, or you, coming to deliver it to me. But maybe I put an anchor in saying, look, I'm not willing to pay more than $7. And I think not enough people do that when they negotiate. They don't put an anchor because then I go, look, I'm not happy with that price of £15. You'll go, all right, I'll give you 14. You don't know that I'm actually looking to get to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting point because that ties in beautifully to what you were saying earlier, right? You can't get to Costco, you like the convenience. My perceived value of this convenience is £10. Whereas to you, your perceived convenience of this, perceived value of this convenience is somewhere much lower than that. And so we find a bridge in between of, let's say, £5. So you pay £10 rather than you paying £5 over there.
Yeah.
You're paying £5 for the convenience.
That's interesting because you just said perceived value and you can't measure that. No way I could do that, really.
It's a non-tangible thing.
Yeah. That is why we need to negotiate forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, those I think on Amazon are currently something's happening today.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the kitchen and I saw Rinny and I needed to speak to her. I went Rit, and I just went into a coughing fit.
Yeah,
I nearly
something tickling.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Somebody on Amazon, and maybe we can talk about this in the next episode, is selling those under a different brand. And all they've done is, I'm pretty sure in Photoshop, scratched the Zeiss out of it.
Really?
Yeah. And so this is another one of these risks on Amazon.
Yeah.
Where, and probably being sold for like £7, like closer to the RRP of the Zeiss branded ones.
Sure.
And again, there's this perceived value of like Zeiss. Maybe it's Zeiss.
Maybe it is them. They just want to sell more for
Yeah,
volume.
and they're just like, check out this fake shit for £7.
Yeah.
Buy our stuff for £15. But if it's not Zeiss, that's a huge threat to their brand.
But on the same token, I will be looking at other brands in the future because how much, like, what's really in there that Zeiss said, no, it's not patented, is it? No, it's not.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. But let's see. But I'm really happy with them. So there's our product of the week.
Yeah.
We've got a really nice one coming next week or the week after. Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do I know about this?
No, you don't know about this. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we've got some interesting products coming along. It's just a bit of fun, you know. I enjoy talking about products.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've been thinking about getting something in. Okay.
All right.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Is this just an excuse to spend money?
I think so.
That we don't need to spend, but
so. Did you negotiate for this product?
Always. Yeah. No. It's not here yet, so still needs to be sorted. TBC.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool.
It's been a pleasure.
So yeah, a pleasure. If there's anything that I'd tell the audience, or you, or me, is and Ram, think about where you could be negotiating in your life right now. What are you missing out on? Think about that. And you're on both sides, yeah.
Sorry, I know we're trying to wrap this up. The one bit of advice my brother once told me is everything in this world is negotiable. And when you start thinking like that, you start to see it everywhere. There's the money saving expert guy, I forget his name.
Yeah.
I've seen a video of him negotiating in Curry's, for God's sake. Curry's.
Yeah.
Like a retail store where the price is just fixed. Everything in this world is negotiable.
Definitely. And if you're not confident, if you're intimidated, just bring in a bit of data. It'll give you all the confidence you need. Yeah. To go through. But cool. All right. Thanks very much, everyone, for listening to episode 35. Right. We always get the nod from Ram. If you enjoyed it, if you want to hear more, just subscribe to us, like us, share us, whatever you want to do. And if you want to hear about a certain topic next week or the week after, comment below and we'll see what we can do. But yeah, thanks for joining, guys. Take care.